You may have seen this story that made big news this week. Dr. Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General, has zeroed in on what he's called the youth mental health crisis in the U.S.
And this week, he published an op-ed in the New York Times calling for warning labels on social media sites similar to the ones we see on alcohol and cigarettes.
So how can parents help their kids cut back on screen time this summer? Heather Krikorian is a professor of human development and family studies at UW-Madison. Heather, nice to see you.
Yeah, nice
Thanks
to be here.
for being here. So what was your reaction to the Surgeon General's urgent warning about this?
Yeah, on the one hand, I understand where it's coming from. I've heard the same anecdotes and seen the same research. And I also wonder if this is the most helpful thing for parents right now.
But you're not sure that the analogy to labels on cigarettes is the same thing. Why not?
Yeah, well, I think the research isn't as clear-cut, so it's not as clear what's causing what, if social media use is causing mental health crisis. And it's also not clear that we'd be taking away risks more than benefits for kids. So it's hard to argue there are really good benefits we're taking away when we discourage cigarette smoking. But with social media, there are real benefits, too.
But it's still, I mean, it can be so harmful. I mean, the data says, what, more than 3 hours a day on social media doubles your risk of anxiety and depression. So what are some things that parents can do to, I guess, monitor and mitigate that?
Yeah, I think one of the limitations of the research is we don't know if it's actually causing those outcomes or if it's associated with. So we tend to go on social media when we're feeling lonely and isolated and looking for connection. So it's hard to know what's causing what. That said, parents can definitely do things like learn more about the devices and platforms their kids are using and have open and non-judgmental conversations with their kids about how social media use makes them feel.
A lot of parents didn't grow up with social media, so that's a good point, that parents need to familiarize themselves first. But it strikes me that the whole burden of this seems to be on parents. What do you think is an appropriate age to give your child a cell phone? That's a hard question to answer.
It is, and sometimes I cop out by saying as late as possible, which I realize is a cop out. But one of the things, I find a hard and fast age rule to be unhelpful because so much of it is individual. So I tend to focus on things like, does your child self-regulate well? When you say it's time to turn the TV off, can they do that and not have a tantrum or that kind of thing? And if so, they might be ready. If not, we might want to work on those self-regulation skills sooner. Similar for social interactions at school. Do they generally have positive relationships, and can they maintain positive relationships and avoid more harmful interactions with kids? If so, they might be ready. If not, they might need some coaching in those skills before they're ready.
You may have heard about the Wait Until 8 campaign, which refers to 8th grade. Wait until at least 8th grade. Does your research seem to suggest it's better to wait until after middle school or longer?
I think it's okay to recommend that. I don't think there's any harm in that. I think some parents are concerned about wanting to stay in contact with their kids. We don't have public payphones the way we did when I was a kid,
right.
So they want to stay in contact. So I think there are ways parents can have those benefits without some of the risks, whether that means a stripped down phone that doesn't have app features and internet access, or if that means adding some apps that help regulate what kids can do and when.
And obviously, you know, it seems like it's something that's kind of individual to your kids and your parents in that conversation. The larger conversation, Congress would have to approve putting a warning label on social media. Do you think that's likely to happen?
Based on the conversations over the last few years, it's hard to imagine because it's a First Amendment rights issue for some, and that's a difficult battle to win.
It's a fascinating field of research. Continue to come back and talk to us about some of the things that you're learning, because this is an ever-evolving story for all of our kids.
Thank you.
Great to see you, Heather. Have a good summer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.